Every practitioner and health coach complains about no-shows, but 99% of the time, it's actually not a client or a lead problem, it's a systems problem. And that's why in this episode of Coach to Coach, we're going to be talking about the real reason why your show rate is so low. I'm Andrew Costa. I'm the head coach from Coach to Coach Systems, and I wanted to do this episode because pre-qualification process applies to everything: consults, assessments, first visits, discovery calls. 9 times out of 10, if you're going through this process, you're not dealing with flaky people. I get all the time, my leads aren't serious. I only want to talk to a high ticket or a high quality client, or I only want to work with someone who's going to commit right on the spot. So all of these people are very flaky. You're not dealing with flaky people. They were serious. They reached out to you. They took the time to learn information about you, your process, the program. So they're not flaky. They are willing to commit to something. Chances are it's not their flakiness. It's actually you're dealing with a process that invites people to be flaky. And a great example of this was a conversation with a facility that we just took on a couple of weeks ago. They have 30 plus assessments booked every single week. But when we took a look at the process of what the sales was and the show rates were, to start, they had 16% of those people show on average. So I'm like, well, you're getting people to actually book to hop on this consultation and go through your process. So to me, there's nothing wrong with the leads. They're interested, they are all sharing their goals with you, they're all going through this process. But when I look towards the process, they weren't pre-qualifying, they weren't sending any calendar reminders. There were tons of things that they were leaving outside that gets people into a space where they're like, well, I'm not really invested in this. And there's a lot of pieces that go into pre-qualification. It's not just the way we pre-qualify, but it's also the thing that we're leading our leads to. And I want to start first in this episode talking about free consults. I personally cannot stand free consults. I understand why people do them because they're like, well, this person doesn't really know me. So if I build rapport with them a little bit, then I can kind of like get trust. And if I get trust, then I can justify saying, hey, you need $1,000 or $2,000 program or a $5,500 program. The reality is whether or not someone gets something for free, or whether or not, like, free does not dictate more trust. In my opinion, free, in my experience, free equals low perceived value. Whenever someone gets something for free, they don't value it because they didn't have to do any work or pay anything to get it. It is something that is free. And yet, for some reason in the health industry, we're still doing this. We're giving away free PDFs or free meal guides. We're giving away free consultations. We're giving away free assessments. We're giving away sometimes free coaching sessions and free adjustments. And then these people are going to waste your time. They're either going to cancel, no show, or when they get in front of you, you waste all of that time. And then they go, I can't afford it, or it's not for me. That to me is like filling your calendar with window shoppers. Okay. These are people who have a trained habit of no showing or not committing to things. This is where you're going to find the victim mindset people. This is where you're going to find the people who are always like, I need to think about it. And it's especially where you're going to find price conscious people. Now, free is not necessarily bad. You can do a lot of things with free and you can build a lot of value with free. But that being said, free belongs in different places outside of your consultation process or your program process. Like, as an example, when I create content, like when I do this YouTube channel and I create YouTube episodes, I do them for free. And I do them for free because I know that I'm going to get 1,000+ people view these episodes. And so it's a one to many that I can give for free. And I know that if someone goes episode to episode, just like we have on the YouTube channel, they're going to hear call to actions, they're going to hear different offers, and they're going to take me up on those offers without me having to spend my one-on-one time. That's how free is supposed to work. Your social media is also free. When you're creating content and you're giving these tips and you're sharing value, the entire purpose is for them to build trust with you 45 seconds to 2 minutes at a time, and then take you up on a call to action and maybe book a discovery call. So if we're going to use free, it's going to be in masterclasses, seminars, it's going to be on YouTube channels, podcasts, or your content, it shouldn't be anywhere near giving your services for free or consultations for free. Now, if you are going to do a consultation for free, because it's not a bad tool, it is still very effective, then this is why you have to pre-qualify them. Because if you don't pre-qualify them, you need to understand that people say yes to anything that costs them nothing because it is free. So, in recognizing that people will take everything that's free, how many times have I downloaded a free PDF because I had access to it? Sits in my email box, I don't even know that it's there. Or someone has given me a copy of their book. I paid $0 for it. I say, hey, thank you. And then I shelve it and I've never read it before. Ultimately, you want people to go through your consult process and receive value. You want people to go through that assessment and actually understand what their next steps are. But most importantly, you want them to take action with their program. You want them to take action on their health. You don't want them to be the window shopper forever that never gets support. And so you have to make sure that you're pre-qualifying properly. So if you are giving something free, you don't end up chasing people who are never going to buy. Because the top things when we look towards all of the objections, I need to think about it. I'm not sure about the price. I'm scared that this is going to work. A lot of these things are things that we can pre-qualify ahead of time. So by the time the person gets in front of you, you don't have any of these things. And this is where it's like there gets to the point where, like, if someone is always invested in free, because it's free, there's no urgency, there's no consequences, and there's no investments. They don't actually have to level up or grow or take action to take free. It's very effortless, but that's not the health journey. The health journey is not an effortless journey. They're going to have to invest the time to make the changes. They're going to have to invest the energy to maybe shift their mindset or shift their attitude or shift the routine. They're going to have to invest financially, training, nutrition, different supplementation, whatever your protocol is, investing in dumbbells or fitness equipment. All of these things require someone taking action, which means that our pre-qualifying process, or the way that we vet someone, has to be in a place where they can start to take action, invest a little bit. So when you get to a place where you're asking someone to give them, basically, you're asking someone to give you their most limited resource, time, we have to attach some type of investment to it, because you can't ask them to give you time without giving them a reason to care. And this is where we talk to tons of practitioners, chiropractors, trainers, naturopaths, all of those people who run assessments. They deal with this. You're asking for time. Let me spend 45 minutes with you on a free consult. Let me spend an hour on an assessment, but then you're not doing the qualification to make sure that you can actually serve them in the best way. Okay. My quote that I want you to remember for this, because it's a quote that my mentor shared with me a long time ago, is if the first step is free and easy, the first step is also forgotten. You have to make sure that they remember the first time that they've been with you, because that's where finally they're going to be able to go through that process and actually take action on their health. So when we look towards creating a pre-qualification process, we have to caution what we do in terms of free. If we are going to do something free, this is where we can tell someone to put down a credit card deposit, or we can charge them a $50 and $90 fee that is refundable, or puts the deposit towards joining a program. Collecting payment info changes commitment for everybody, even if it is free, because payment info equals anchored seriousness. When I put my credit card down for something, even if it is something as significant as a $1 deposit, now they're like, oh, I actually have to put my credit card down for this. I actually have to think to myself, am I willing to invest in this? And another thing from the financial perspective is asking people, in fact, if they are willing to financially invest. Hey, our program ranges between 550 to 1200 a month based on what option is best for you. We do have tons of options that are available. That being said, are you open and willing to financially invest or at least look at some options to invest in your health at this time? If the answer is no, then they're not a good fit. It doesn't matter whether or not you can try to convince them on that consult, the objection is going to be finances. And if their answer is, well, it depends, like how long would I be paying that 550? What does the process look like? That's where you can say, hey, look, our commitments range between this and this, but the majority of our people, again, fall in this range. We'll have to sit you down with a coach or your professional to make sure, of course, that we can go through what's exactly for you. My thing is we want to be upfront and we just want to say, hey, does this range work for you? If so, we'll work towards finding an option that makes sense. So are you open to looking at options? Yes. By having them commit to that yes, they're not just committing to I'm open to looking at options. They're committed to I told you that I could financially afford it. And that is the number one objection that every single practitioner gets, especially if you're a practitioner that is not doing copay or benefits. If you are taking the direct payment from the person, every single person will get a pricing objection if you don't pre-qualify them for price. Okay. Now, when we're doing pre-qualification and we're talking about putting a credit card down, or we're talking about is there a range, are you open to invest in this? Understand that we do these things, it's not about the money. It's not at all. Asking about the investment or getting someone to put a credit card down, it's about the psychology of intent. Okay. When people put down anything hard, a deposit, a payment, they shift from I'll try or I'll see or I'm curious to I'll follow through. Just with that alone, your show rate's going to instantly jump before you've changed anything else because a small refundable deposit or putting a credit card down that the deposit's going to go through or asking them the pre-qualification questions, it's going to reduce the amount of people that you're booking in, but those people are going to be serious. So not only are you going to increase your show rates, you're going to increase your you're going to increase your closing rates, and then of course you're going to increase your retention because these people are committed people. They already know and are expecting that they're going to be committing to a journey loan. Okay. So another option that you can do besides having a deposit down for like a consultation is like doing a paid walkthrough. And the walkthrough could be something like, hey, when we walk you through our facility, this is more for like health coaches or nutritionists. It's like, hey, we'll sit down, we'll go through a walkthrough of your food, we'll share with you some of the basics. We might give you a little tour of some of the equipment, but that's going to be a flat fee of like $100. And then at the end, we'll give you a couple of options, but at least you understand the basics. And if you want to continue from there, then that's totally fine. Then in that case, it's like it's a consultation, but it's almost like a paid consultation. Where now people are still getting value. They're paying for the value, so they're already invested. You already have their credit card on file. So then when you showcase their options, it's one less objection that you're getting. The whole purpose of having a pre-qualification is all about the psychology of commitment. Commitment is where a lot of people will experience objections, not just in health, but in everything. We need to be emotionally committed to something. We need to be financially committed to something. We have to be mentally committed to something. And these three things need to all work together in order for us to have a client who's 100% all in on the experience and the process. If someone is mentally committed, but they're not emotionally committed, they understand the logic of why they need to do it. But for some reason, they're like, well, I just can't get fired up about the goals, and it's going to be hard to sell them. If they're emotionally bought in, they're like, oh, I'm so desperate. I want to see the result, but they can't mentally see, well, what's the process that I'm going to do? Or financially, they're not at a space where they're like, look, I want this, but I just can't afford it. You're still going to have someone that's going to be really hard to sell. So commitment comes from those three places. You have to have the emotional buy-in, you have to be mentally bought in, and they have to, of course, be willing to invest time and invest resources, which is going to be AKA money. Humans as a species, they are wired to complete what they start. That is the way we operate. When we finish things, we start them. When you start a meal, you finish a meal. When you go to bed, you complete the sleep. When you brush your teeth, you finish brushing your teeth. We don't like half finishing things. It's why the journey of health takes so long for some people to start, because they're like, if I'm going to do this, I know that I have to finish it. So the way that we create a higher level of commitment is with micro investments. Micro investments equals a micro commitment, which means that they're going to follow through. So here's an example of a micro investment. Micro investments not just putting down the deposit. Inside of the pre-qualification process, what we have our clients do is we have them get the person to say yes. Like, hey, do you mind if I share with you some options to work towards getting to your health? Yes. Are you open to working with a coach and a practitioner at this time? Yes. Our financial options range between this and this, depending on what works for you. Are you willing or open to financially investing in yourself at this time? Yes. We get them to say yes because yes is a commitment. Are you going to show up? Yes. Perfect. We're going to have you on this time. If you reschedule, can you give us 48 hours notice for this? Yes, we get them to say yes over and over again, because the more that someone can say yes is the less opportunities they have to energetically and mentally say no. Because when we have someone sitting down in front of us, they said yes to open to coaching. They said yes to they're willing to financially invest. They said yes to they're willing to be resourceful. They said yes to showing up to the appointment because they're there in front of you. That's a person who's 99% of the way bought in. The only thing that's really going to screw this up is if for some reason you didn't pre-qualify price correctly. So they're like, I'd love to do this, but I literally can't afford this. Or they don't trust you. If for some reason in that interaction you gave them a weird vibe or you didn't communicate the value, they're going to lose the trust and they're going to say no. So micro investments equals a micro commitment. So the more steps that people take before meeting you, the more that they're going to identify as a serious buyer. We can also do this by getting them to do certain tasks. Like inside of the pre-qualification, if you're not going to get them to put down a deposit of the card, it's like, hey, before we book the consultation, I want you to watch this training. And after you see the training, which goes through our program or explains some of our process, then I want you to message me and say, hey, I did it. Or I want you to fill out this application. By filling out the application, it screens the people who are willing to take the 10 to 15 minutes to go through the process before booking the consultations. Commitment is an identity shift. And if you even think towards your best clients, like if I look at all of the people who are inside of C2C, these are the people who are willing to go through the process. They're excited, they're fired up, they're like, I need to fill out an application. Not a problem. That's totally fine. You want me to watch 2 trainings before our call and give you feedback on what I saw or what I learned? Not a problem. You want me to bring some of my team members on this call to make sure they're a good fit? Yeah, not a problem. That is all a person who is ready and willing to commit. Your highest level clients, the clients that pay you the most, the clients that stay the longest, the clients that are the best to work with, these are people who understand commitment very well. They have the identity of someone who is willing to commit and someone who is willing to follow through. These are going to be the people that you want to build your business off of. Because bear with me here, even if you didn't have a pre-qualification process, there is nothing worse than signing someone up, selling someone, taking the time to onboard them, and then 3 weeks later, they're asking for a cancellation, or they're asking for you to pause their membership or hold their payments. Or worse, they put a dispute because they go, this is too much for me. It's actually not for me. That's going to frustrate your team. That's going to frustrate you selling them and taking the time to onboarding them. And really, that's your fault. It's your fault because the way that you get someone to join a program is going to be the way that they experience the program and the journey with you. If you have to guilt them to get in, you're going to have to keep guilting them to keep going. If you have to frustrate them to like, man, like aren't you pissed off that you haven't gotten your goals yet? If you have to frustrate them to join, then you're gonna have to frustrate them to keep going. And if you have to get them mad, where they're like, holy crap, I'm full blown angry. I can't believe that I've done this. I've let my health get to this point. Or you have to fear them where they get scared, where they're like, oh man, I don't want to get diabetes. I have to join. All of those things you're going to have to continue through the process because what moves you is what keeps your clients moving. So ultimately, we want to have a pre-qualification process that is going to build commitment, that is going to make sure that they're in a space where they can invest emotionally, mentally, financially. So that way, by the time someone gets in front of us, they are going to be the person who shows up. They are going to be the person who's open, and they're going to be the person who signs up. So ultimately, we protect what we invest in, even small investments. Regardless of whether I spend $5 on something or I spend $500 on something, I'm not just going to throw it away because I know that I've invested. And it's the same thing with time. If a coach gives me a couple of action steps before I get on a consult call with them, I follow through on that because I'm like, well, if I took the time to reach out, I'm also going to take the time to do the steps so I can follow through. Now, when it comes to no shows, like ultimately, I believe that like no shows are a symptom of like low identity activation. When someone doesn't show, they're just not invested in the process. They're just not bought in. They don't see the value. They don't know who you are. They don't understand the process. They're maybe window shopping, and it's like, okay, like in this moment, there's not really anything for them to get excited about. There's not getting anything that's going to break their habit of like, holy cow, this coach or this practitioner, they've got me fired up. And it's little things like sending generic messages, not being willing to hop on the phone, not like someone reaches out in the DMs and you don't send them a personalized video where they're like, well, I just feel like he's messaging kind of 200 people at the same time. He's not even speaking to me. Maybe the process takes too long, where from the first reach out or message all the way to the consultation was like 7 days, and the person has lost interest. Maybe it's inconsistent, where from message to message or process to process, you're changing things up on the fly, and the person goes, I'm not really a fan of this, feeling very random. All of these things really doesn't activate their identity of like, this seems like a committed practitioner. This seems like someone who's serious and all in on me. You know, one of the most common things that like surprises people when they join C2C is they're like, well, when I message you on your socials, and usually it's Instagram, when they DM me and they're like, hey, I just want to chat about C2C. I'm curious as to what it's about. I'm like, cool. And I'm sending them personal videos and I'm like voice messaging them. They're like, oh, like I'm surprised that you're taking random spurts of time to do this. It's like, yes, because if you're going to take the time to reach out, I'm going to take the time to have a conversation with you seriously. I'm not just going to say, hey, here's the self sign up link. Here's some information on the program. Bye. It's like, well, no, I want to get some context. What are you doing in your business? How many teammates do you have? What are your intentions with this? What does it look like you and I working together? How long have you been following me for? Do you know what the process is? Because I want to make sure that when we do hop on a discovery call and when we do have conversations, it's like I know as much about you and your business as you know about me. So that way we can make sure that we're a good fit for each other. And that's another thing as a practitioner too. Sometimes we forgo the pre-qualification process because we're like, well, I just need more clients. So if I give them less steps, maybe it's going to equal more signups. The reality is no, it's actually the opposite. If you and your pre-qualification process or the areas to book a consult or join are very loose and it's very easy and anyone can just click in, then it also makes it loose and easy for them to forget, for them to leave, or for them to have a lot of questions in the process. We have to make sure that through this process, we do have a qualification, that they are serious. And like going back to that facility that had the 16% show rate, like guess what? Leads were buying. Leads were buying. The 16% of those people who showed up, they were buying. Their ads and their system to get those leads there, they were working. But Their calendar was full of unqualified people. They were having a lot of people who weren't qualified because they weren't doing that. So, something simple, implementing a pre-qualification form, implementing a mandatory deposit that gets applied to the program, and then also setting clear expectations like, hey, on this consult, we're not just going to talk to you about the program, we're doing goal setting, we're overviewing some things, we're going to be doing an assessment. So that way, through this process, we're actually going to build you an option that's going to be custom to you. And then at the end of this process, we're going to go through some options to get you started. We outlay the expectations. So in just changing that process in 14 days, literally 2 weeks, we changed from 16% to 82% show rate. Nothing changed except the system. The ads were the same. The consultation process was the same. The salesperson was the same. The program was the same. The pricing was the same. So the leads didn't get better. The process got better. And this is what predictable behavior looks like. When you're looking towards building a scalable business, more recurring revenue, same amount of clients sign up every single week, week after week. Your sales process is a streamlined machine. There has to be a level of predictability. So if we can qualify people the same way and we make sure that the consult and the sales process happens the same way every time, then that means we can predict how many people are actually going to go through our sales every time, and it makes a more stable business flow. Then you're not worried about, well, what's going to happen if I promote a new program or promote a new offer? Am I going to get 16% show? Am I going to get 60% show? What happens when I put new ads out? Am I going to blow 6K on ads and then it doesn't get me any people? Or am I actually going to get like a 2.1 to 2.2%, 2 to 1 or 2. Holy cow, a 2 to 1 or 2.2 to 1 return on the investment for my ads. So I'll tell you something, like a lot of people think that instead of fixing pre-qual, they're like, well, I should just like send 10 reminders. And if I send a bunch of reminders because I don't want to go through this process of pre-qualifying people, like they should remember, and that should improve it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, sending reminders improves things a little bit, but I can tell you something, like reminders don't matter if your pre-qualification sucks, because sending 10 reminders is not going to fix a commitment problem. Reminders are there to help people who intend to show, but maybe have a very, very busy life. So it's like, oh, right, okay, I've got that appointment at 3 p.m. Not people who booked out of convenience or booked because it was easy, right? So if you're looking to solve the pre-qualification with text and automated messages and automated reminders, that's just going to reinforce what's already there. That's not going to fix the issue. The issue is the person isn't pre-qualified, so they're not serious. So as you go through this process to look towards like, what can I do? Can I do, a free assessment? Can I do a deposit? Should I do a paid walkthrough? What's going to be the ones that like are the best for me? In reality, it's different depending on what type of business. Because if you are someone who has a physical facility, having a walkthrough, having a demonstration of equipment, that's probably going to be very valuable to a person who's introductory, and it gives you the opportunity to then again sell them on a higher thing. If you're someone who's doing sales online or you're doing virtually, a free assessment, even like a free consultation, probably not going to be valuable because someone's hopping on a Zoom call and there's not a lot of connection there. That's probably where maybe doing something like the deposit model might be a little bit better. The best balance, though, is for you to see what your price point is and also to see what the objection is. So, what I always recommend is like, it doesn't really matter what the pre-qual process looks like. What it matters is how many people are getting to the consult and what are the objections. If the objection is price, we need to pre-qual price at the front. If the objection isn't price, but the issue is show, like they're not showing up, then we need to get a deposit to get them to show, or we need to fill out an application to get them to show. If you're having a decent show rate, but for some reason, sometimes the objection's price, sometimes the objection's this, then we need an application, maybe not necessarily a credit card, to make sure that they're serious about like not only showing up, but actually committing to the program. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but the most important thing is for you to choose a model that aligns with your positioning. Where are you positioning the offer? not for you to choose something that aligns with your fear. Like, I need more leads, so let me scrap the pre-qual. I need more people at the consult, so let me not tell them the price. I'll end this episode with this. You don't need more leads. You don't. 90% of the people that I work with, they think that they have a lead problem, but when we look at the amount of people that they're closing, that they're going through, I'm like, what if you were to just close 30% more? They're like, yeah, well, that would hit our goals. Cool. So then you don't need leads. You don't need more leads. You need more qualified people on your consults. So the way that we do that is we pre-qual. We create a pre-qualification that's going to be really strong for your business. I would say it's one of the biggest pieces that we focus on inside of the sales process for C2C, because it's not just teaching your team or you how to be able to sell or how to sell high ticket or how to increase your prices. It's about making sure that from the content, client converting content addresses a lot of the objections. We create content saying, how you invest, how you're not afraid to financially invest, what an emotional buy-in looks like. We then pre-qual to make sure that they fill out the applications and that they're ready. So by the time someone comes in front of you, they are your ideal client. Every single lead that has reached out to you at this point is a good lead for you. These people are serious. They were serious enough to give you their contact info. They were serious enough to reach out in the first place. It's your process that needs tweaking to make sure that they get all the way and they keep their seriousness. And if you need help doing this, we still have one more spot available for C2C for November end. If you join now, you get access to client converting content, which helps you create that content that will address the objections beforehand. No BS sales, which is going to teach you the prescriptive method of sales included in that. And then also you're going to get the fast launch program, which will help you launch, promote, and fill offers, which includes the sales process for that. That is included alongside the entire process of C2C, where we work to build your business, add 10 to 15K in terms of recurring revenue, and freaking blow you the F up. It's fire. We got one more spot left for November. Do not miss out, because again, if you've been watching these episodes and you're like, yes, pre-qual, yes, more show rates, yes, recurring revenue, then you know you need to be in here. So don't miss the opportunity. The process is simple. Go to growmycoaching.com, or you can just go to the link in the show notes, or if you're watching on YouTube, in the description, and it'll have you fill out an application and then book a discovery call with us. The application is simple. It allows me to learn about your business. And if I have questions, and I'm going to DM you on Insta, or I'll DM you on whatever contact you put there, so we can have a convo back and forth. And then we hop on a discovery call. We unpack your business, we unpack everything that's going on, and we go through your goals and help pick the option that is right for you. So one more spot left. Don't hesitate to fill that in, because again, I'm accepting limited spots up until the end of this year. Other than that, thanks guys for hopping on this episode. Coach Andrew out. We will see you on the next one. Bye for now.